I still remember the sound of her voice that day, measured, practiced, almost like she'd been rehearsing alone in the dark. "He just understands me," she said. No anger, no theatrics. Just a quiet certainty that told me she'd let go long before she finally said it out loud. I didn't ask questions. Didn't argue. Didn't bring up the late nights I'd spent lying awake, trying to make sense of her, even when she couldn't make sense of herself. I just stood up, took a deep breath, and said, "If that's how you feel, I won't hold you back." Then I walked out. Not because I stopped loving her, I hadn't. But when the person you've built a life with tells you that someone else sees them more clearly, what's really left to fight for? We'd spent nearly 5 years together. Built a quiet rhythm out of movie marathons, weekend rituals, and sleepy morning routines. She was wild, impulsive, full of sparks and ideas. I was the steady hand, the one who remembered the oil changes, folded the laundry, kept track of the little things. We balanced each other. Or at least I believed we did. Things changed when she joined that photography group downtown. That's where Noah came in. At first, he was just someone who gets her work. Artistic chemistry, she said. Nothing to worry about. I wanted to be supportive. I gave her room to grow. But then she stopped laughing at my corny jokes. Stopped telling me about her day. Stopped reaching for my hand at night. I asked her, gently, if something was wrong. She gave me a tired smile, the kind that feels like goodbye. "You've always been good to me," she said. "But with him, it's just easy. Like he really sees me." And right then I knew. A week later, we sat across from each other at our kitchen table, the same one where we once brainstormed baby names. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "He understands me better." I didn't cry. I packed a small overnight bag, left my key on the counter, and walked out. The first few weeks blurred together. I crashed at a friend's place, took every shift I could find, stopped answering texts. I wasn't just heartbroken, I was humiliated. I'd held on so tightly to something that had already slipped away. After 2 months, I got my own place. Nothing fancy. Quiet. Clean. No trace of her in the walls or closets. I started running each morning, not for fitness, but to feel something other than that slow, constant ache. I taught myself how to cook for one. And in the stillness, I started to find a strange kind of peace. By month 4, I saw her face again, on social media. Smiling at a cafe, her fingers curled around a coffee cup. His camera resting on the table next to hers. I stared longer than I should have. Then I deleted the app and stepped outside for air. Healing wasn't graceful. Some nights I'd hear her laugh in my head and feel like I couldn't breathe. Some mornings I'd reach across the bed, forgetting the space beside me was always empty now. But I never called. Never messaged. Because when someone leaves you for someone who gets them better, they never really heard you to begin with. By month 7, I wasn't the same man. Quieter. Stronger. Still healing, but no longer shattered. I could laugh without guilt again. I went on a few dates, nothing serious. But I stopped bringing her up. And that felt like a win. Then month 10 rolled around. A rainy night. I had just stepped out of my soaked shoes when I heard a knock. I opened the door, and there she was. Soaked hair. Swollen eyes. Hands shaking as she held out a water-damaged envelope. She didn't wait for permission. Just walked in like someone entering a life that no longer belonged to her. "I'm not asking you to forgive me," she said, her voice raw. "I just need to say this." She placed the envelope on the table. "I made a mistake," she whispered. "I thought what we had was safe, routine. Then Noah came along, and it felt exciting again. But it wasn't real. He was only around when things were easy. The moment life got hard, he disappeared." She stared at the floor. "I ran from you because you saw the parts of me I didn't want to face. And you never judged me. You stayed. You gave everything." The room went quiet. "I came back because now I know what I lost." I finally looked at her. She wore the expression of someone who realized the truth too late. And I knew, the man who would have embraced her without hesitation, he didn't live here anymore. I leaned back in my chair. "I'm glad you see it now," I said softly. But I've come too far to go back. She nodded, tears falling freely. I understand. I just needed to say it. I walked her to the door. As she stepped outside, I paused. You were right, I said. He saw the version of you you wanted the world to see. But I loved all of you, even the parts you tried to hide. She opened her mouth, maybe to respond. But I gently closed the door. Then I sat by the window, watching the rain draw quiet patterns on the glass. And for the first time in nearly a year, I felt still. If you've ever been replaced by someone who only knew the polished version of the one you loved, this is your reminder. Sometimes they only realize what they had after you've already started to heal. And by then, they haven't just lost you. They've lost the chance to earn you back.